Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to call the Putnam County Board of County Commissioners meeting to order for September 24th, 2019. I'd like to welcome everybody today. We'll begin our meeting with the invocation by Commissioner Larry Harvey and the pledge by Commissioner Buddy Goddard. Please stand if you're able.
Let us bow in prayer. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for a wonderful day here in Putnam County, an opportunity to serve our fellow man with humility, and Lord, we just put them first. We ask, Lord, that you guide all of our decisions today, all of our deliberations. Let them be in the spirit of unity today, Father. We thank you for everything you do for us and for this county, and we look for good days ahead. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. You'll join it?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Harvey and Commissioner Goddard. Gentlemen, our first item of business is item 2, approval of the minutes of the August 13th, 2019 Board of County Commission meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval.
I'll second.
Okay, we've got a proper approval by Commissioner Harvey and a proper second by Commissioner Turner. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, our 9 o'clock certain public hearing. I understand from Administrator Suggs that has been pulled and would have to be re-advertised. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so we'll skip that and we'll move down to presentations. So I'll ask Ms. Rhonda Masters-Drackett to come up and Mr. Roy Fouts and any of the other of the group if they want to come up. A couple of Thursdays ago, we were out at the Barden Fire Department for a town hall meeting. And after the meeting, I was talking to Rhonda about the mowing situation and the trash pickup. And she's doing something in Federal Point that I'd like for everybody to hear. So, Ms. Rhonda, welcome.
Thank you, Chairman Pickens. Rhonda Masters-Drackett out at Federal Point, and I have with me Roy Fouts, one of my neighbors, Federal Point, Mays Cove, and with Nicole Grace with Keep Putnam Beautiful. And my job today is just to sort of make an introduction to these to you from Roy and from Nicole. So when we were at that meeting, people were talking about the trash situation, and we know that people are going to litter. The litter's going to fly out the beds of those trucks. Hopefully people could be mindful of that, but they don't. So in our community, what I was sharing is that we actually have Roy Fouts and his wife, and they took on the role and responsibility of coordinating in our neighborhood a cleanup. And I know there's others in the community that have done that. I know Larry Harvey in Interlochen, you all have it with Rotary. What I want people to hear who are listening to this today, to understand that it's simple to do, and I wanted Roy to sort of give you what we've been doing out at Federal Point that he's been spearheading, and then we'll hear from Nicole. Roy?
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm a 3-time CEO, long time retired. One of the things I know about organizations is that change is really difficult. It's just almost impossible to implement change. So if you work on the bottom end, maybe you can get some other things done. If you can get people involved a little bit. My first involvement was at a little place that some of you have probably fished. On Federal Point, there is Cemetery Canal. Comes up, it's just a little south of Mays Cove Road. And there's a little old bridge there, but people fish under that bridge and to the side of the bridge. And it was always filthy. I only live 500 yards from there, maybe even less than that. So I go down on my mower and I take a trash can and I pick stuff up. Then I put a trash can down there. Lo and behold, people started using the trash can. There were still a few Busch beer cans thrown around in that, but that took 5 minutes to pick up. So I could dump the trash can. So now there was a little fishing hole that people could enjoy and not be repulsed when they saw it. People still use that for a dump site. Somebody just put their refuse in there from a demolition of a bathroom. My wife and I are going to get that cleaned up. I've talked to the county about it. They think that it may be on private property or it may be on the easement. It's okay. We'll clean it up. No big thing. I only want to say a couple of things about cleaning up. I moved from that to looking at the intersection of 207, 207A. Everybody's slowing down when they get there, so the beer cans come out, the McDonald's packages and that. It takes me 30 minutes a week to clean that area up. I'm an old man, 30 minutes is nothing to do that. And what we'd like to do is we'd like to get a lot of people involved in doing that kind of thing. Pick a spot, go ahead and do it. I've just been told that the county is trying to create on a website a list of when they're going to do the mowing. There's nothing more frustrating than going down there to clean it up and you find that those styrofoam cups have been shredded by the mowers. We can avoid that just by a little bit of coordination and doing that, and we're on the road to fixing that. That's wonderful. Anyway, let me conclude by saying we all live downstream, every single one of us. The second thing is, my mother used to always say, work done in the spirit of service is worship. Think about that. I think that's really true. We appreciate your taking time to listen to us. We hope you'll get involved as an individual. If you set the example, maybe there'll be 30 or 40 more people who will follow your example. That's all we need. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roy. At Keep Putnam Beautiful, we are really excited by... Oh, you couldn't hear me? Sorry. At Keep Putnam Beautiful, we're really excited by community citizens like Roy and actually Larry Harvey. I know you're out there with your grandson. I saw that. I liked it on Facebook. Keep Putnam Beautiful would really like to assist all of these leaders in our community because that is what we are doing. We're leading this cleanup opportunities. We have supplies, so if you call Keep Putnam Beautiful and let me know, we will provide anyone that comes out with you with grabbers so they don't have to bend over. We make it as simple and easy as possible. If you're going to be on the roadway or the bridges, I have some lovely, very fashionable DOT vests that are available for you to use, and we really encourage you to use if you are going to be on the roadway because that is a hazardous area. We also come with bags, plenty of bags, so you don't need to bring your own, although I know we do have participants that find bags and use the bags that they have found. At our coastal cleanup, we had 2 young ladies that found a blue bin, oddly enough, thank you Waste Pro, that they used to collect other things along the shoreline at Riverfront Park. But we do have bags that you can use. And the Sheriff's Department also provided us with hand sanitizers for all of our buckets, so that we can kind of keep the germs down as you're cleaning up as well. We do have, I didn't bring them with me, but lovely gloves too, if you need gloves when you're out. But contact me, I have cards to give out, so to facilitate that, or on the website, on Facebook, or just grab me at Publix. I'm there a lot. So. But thank you very much, I appreciate all that y'all are doing, and thank you, Rhonda. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any questions? I was just going to call on Commissioner Harvey. So, Commissioner Harvey?
We have these new fangled things that light up, so it's pretty neat. It is exciting to see what's going on. And my grandson and I did take the golf cart out Sunday after church, and we picked up some garbage. It was his idea. He wanted to go pick it up. Unfortunately, we didn't get it all done before the mower came yesterday, and that's a whole other different story. But, Mike, I'll be looking forward to that interactive map. And you'll see why later on at the transportation meeting. But we really are excited about that. And it was fun to see a little 7-year-old who, I know he wanted to drive the golf cart. That's number one. But we're down in the ditch and we're picking up stuff and we're being real safe, and gave him and I an opportunity to do some bonding. And I posted on Facebook, just imagine if there was 20,000 people that could pick up 5 gallons of garbage a day or a week or a month or whatever, that would be a lot of garbage being picked up. And I know the comments were they shouldn't have threw it out in the first place. I agree with that. But if you look inside my truck, it's a junkyard until I go home and grab the trash can, throw it all in the trash can. But not everybody does that. So, and we're happy to be able to pick up. Our Rotary Club is excited about starting it back up when we get this interactive map going. So it's exciting to see a beautiful Putnam County, number one. Thank you, and thank you for all you do. Appreciate it.
Commissioner Rawls?
I'm sure you guys have thought about this, but besides your civic groups, also your churches. And I'm committed to having town hall meetings in my district at least once a quarter, and it might be good to have you guys come out. BOCC has a formal community association. I'm hoping that Barden forms one soon. But if you could hit these small pockets as well, I think that'd be meaningful because they are pretty tight-knit groups of folks in their areas. You got the town of Willaca, Pomona Park, Crescent City, but I would encourage you to try to make this a movement and hit all the small areas. Don't forget Florhome and Larkin, Johnson.
And while we still have the floor, Commissioner Rawls, I know that you chair the Blue Ways and Trails Committee. Maybe we could have on the agenda sometime to look at these areas that are highly traveled, like the intersection of 207 and 207A, that's where the bike trail is, and maybe try and put some containers there that would be nice looking and wouldn't disappear anytime soon. So if you would address that at a meeting, I would appreciate it.
Do you know Craig McLean by any chance?
Yes, I do.
I would reach out to him.
Okay.
And the only thing that popped in my mind is whether or not it's allowed because it's a DOT road. But I think he would be the person you would ask that question to. And there's plenty of time at the meetings to come in and under public comment section as well and discuss that.
Will do.
And I know they would appreciate that.
Okay, Rhonda, thank you very much, and Nicole and Mr. Fouts. I hope this will create some interest throughout the county, so thank you so much. Okay, we'll move down to item number 5, public comment. This portion of the agenda is designed to allow citizens an opportunity to bring matters to the attention of the board. It is not reasonable to expect that the board will engage in debate or deliberation about matters in which the board received no prior information. We'd like you to fill out a public comment card, which is found at the entrance and exit of our building, and turn them into Sarah Oliver over to your right, to my left. Keep your comments to 3 minutes. Are there any individuals wishing to make public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion of the meeting. We'll move down to our consent agenda, item 6. Commissioners, any items you wish to pull? I'll start to my far right with Commissioner Rawls.
C and D, please.
What was C and D?
C and D.
Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Goddard.
I have none.
Okay, Commissioner Turner.
I wanted to pull D, but that's fine.
And Commissioner Harvey.
I wanted to pull C, but that's been pulled.
Okay, and I have none. Okay, Commissioners, can we get a motion to approve A, B, E, F, G, H, I, and I neglected, but everybody got the addendum on J, K, and L.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda, items A, B, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L.
Okay, we got a proper motion by Commissioner Harvey.
I'll second.
Got a proper second by Commissioner Goddard. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, agenda item C, Commissioner Rawls.
Time's up already? That was quick. Lost my train of thought there for a second. So, I guess, a couple of comments, a couple of concerns. My concern is that this was not discussed at a workshop prior to being put together. And one of my concerns is that the staff takes it upon themselves to put something in motion, and then it's, in this case, I was contacted by a citizen that was concerned because they were advised by one of the attorneys at Holmes & Young that they were representing these committees ongoing. And they reached out to me and said, I thought we hired an attorney already. I said we did, and they had a complaint that why are we having to hire outside counsel for this? So when I asked Mr. Suggs, he said, well, I'm going to bring this before you. So the point is that it's put in motion, then it's brought before us, and then we get to look at it in hindsight. The date on this is the 22nd of August. The first time it was discussed with us was last Tuesday at the workshop. And then I'm also wondering, why are we recycling the same people over and over and over? Part of what I've heard recently, a lot lately, after getting elected, is that we can't, we can only fix things that are put in front of us now, but mistakes made by others in the past, we can't deal with. But if some of these others include this law firm and some of their members, then I think we're recycling the same people over and over and looking for different results. So I think we should really seriously consider discussing this at a workshop and inviting other firms to come in, look at their horsepower, because specifically on the bottom of this, on the bottom of the first page, under D, it says they're going to be attending all hearings for the Planning Commission for any committee thereof, evaluating the creation of the revised comp plan and land development code. And from what I understand, the same representation was that the last one is represented now. And issues that we're having with the land development could just be recycled by not bringing somebody in that's got more relevant experience at that. The $250 an hour, I don't know if that's a good price or a bad price. That to me it seems kind of salty, but without actually talking to other firms, I don't know. That just, and then the other question I had is, where is this budgeted? We didn't discuss this in the budget process, so I'd like to know where this is being paid from, because this could rack up some pretty serious numbers really quickly.
Okay, Commissioner Turner?
Well, do y'all want to answer the budget question first, or do y'all want me to go?
Yes, sir, Commissioner Rawls, there's $30,000 budgeted in contractual services within the county attorney's budget to cover those expenses.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not very good at being politically correct. I'm trying to get a little better at it as I get older, but I'm not doing well with it. There's nothing wrong with the firm that was selected to do this job, except for the fact that Commissioner Rawls doesn't like the firm. I don't think that should be a prerequisite for working for the county, is that whether one of the commissioners likes the firm or not. You can't find a firm that has more experience in the field that we're putting them in than this one. One of the partners has been planning commission attorney for years, city attorney. The other partner, or the other member of the firm, was a county attorney for 20 years. How could you find somebody with more experience than that? I understand what Commissioner's saying about if you use the same people over and over again, it gives you the same result. I didn't realize that we had a bad result with our planning attorneys. The one thing that I believe happened when Stacy Manning was here was there was an agreement between him and Commissioner Rawls about that we needed outside counsel for certain things. I believe it was the Port Authority was the one y'all were talking about. But we always had outside counsel, we being the county, always had outside counsel for them, because there's certain situations to where the planning commission may not have representation if the county attorney's representing them. So, I mean, I feel like we have to have representation of some sort on the planning commission, the ZBOA, the special magistrate needs needs counsel, and I just don't see how you could find a firm. And this thing was done exactly by purchasing ordinance, as far as I know it was. Legal services don't have to be bid out, just like construction services, or just like any services contractor does not have to be bid out. So, in my opinion, I'm just fine with this one. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Commissioner Rawls?
First and foremost, this is nothing personal against the firm, but the firm represents the city of Palatka. I've stated before, I think there's a potential for a conflict between us and the city of Plaque in the future, at which point neither one of us would have representation. We would have to seek other outside counsel. That's a concern, that's all. Regarding the Port Authority is a separate autonomous body politic. It should have its own attorney, not shared attorneys with the county. That's directly from the ordinance and from the state statute. You know, the potential problems that I see are that a lot of the complaints they get from developers is our land use code is extremely restrictive. So if we're using the same people now that did it then, we could end up with the same result. All I'm saying is, I think it would have been more prudent for this board to have put this out, interviewed other firms, and then made a decision, not have staff walk in and say, this is what we're going to do. Oh, by the way, it's already in motion, and here's what we're going to do. So,
Mr. Harvey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had some questions yesterday, and I just need to clarify. I also asked about the budget. Matt, did you say 30,000 contractual? Okay, because I called yesterday and that couldn't get answered. My only problem with this, because I really have no problem with the law firm, with the experience they have, but under Section 2, Special Counsel Services, and I have shared this with our attorney and I have shared it with our county administrator, that I think it's at the direction of the county attorney. I would like for us to maybe put in there, with the approval of the BOC or the county administrator, one line in there that would make that happen. I think that would give it a little bit more prudence here. And that's my only comment.
Okay. Commissioner Turner?
Mr. Chairman, did y'all get what he wanted in the contract? Did y'all write that down, Commissioner Harvey?
I'm aware of his concerns.
Do you have any problem with those concerns?
Yes, I do.
You do have a problem with that concern? Would you explain what that problem is, please?
Yes. With regard to special counsel services, and the way it's written in the contract, what I think, if I understand Commissioner Harvey correctly, is that basically every item that the firm, for lack of a better word, every task that the firm provides would require BOCC review. Well, like I mentioned, that is a task, that is not a contract. This is the contract, okay? The contract is for those particular services that need to be handled by outside counsel, it will be done at the direction of the county attorney. It's written that way for a very important reason. Virtually every county attorney in the state manages outside legal counsel. It's no different than if you had a general counsel of a corporation. They're the ones that monitor, they're the ones that have the training and experience to monitor outside counsel, because it's basically a legal decision as to the nature and extent of the services that are to be provided. I would add further that with respect to the position that I fill, the job description says, directs and supervises clerical support staff and retained outside counsel. That itself is not unusual. That is a standard job description for any county attorney. The county attorney needs that authority. The county attorney has the experience to make those determinations. And like I said, it's not a matter of approving a contract. This is your contract, okay? This is determining on a case-by-case basis whether there's a need for outside counsel and what the extent of the representation will be. And that requires somebody who is experienced with legal matters to be able to make that determination, and oftentimes on a very time-critical situation. If you were to go ahead and say, okay, we're going to put this on the agenda, should outside counsel be able to do this? First of all, you might be delaying action that needs to be taken almost immediately to protect the interests of the county. And second of all, the transactional costs in terms of explaining just exactly what the legal services are that are being performed takes away time from the county attorney that could be done on other things. That's what we do as county attorneys. That's our function. Like I said, it's incorporated into the job description of the position that I applied for and all the other candidates applied for, and there's a reason for it. That's what county attorneys do. So as far as that issue is concerned, I've got some other questions I think I can address to Commissioner Rawls.
May I?
Okay, Commissioner Harvey?
Thank you. I'm not doubting your ability to find outside counsel. I just want you to have a control, and I said either the board or the county administrator. You've got a very limited budget of $30,000. That's not going to go a long way in outside counsel. So if you, let's say that you have a big lawsuit, you're going to have to bring it back to us to amend your budget anyway, because we could blow $30,000 in a heartbeat. So my point is, I just want someone there going, okay, let's keep track of what we're spending here, so we're not going to go over that budget. We can't hardly find $133,000 for a ditch right now or a culvert. And my point is, I don't want to blow that budget completely out by, and I understand your point. You're busy, you've got other things to do. Another set of eyes never hurts anything.
Mr. Commissioner, if I may, Mr. Chairman, yeah, I do not disagree with that. With regard to the budgetary aspects of it, that's not my department, okay? That is administration's department, and we work very closely together in terms of coordinating the budget with the services that I'm responsible for monitoring, okay? So it's a collective decision to begin with, and it's not really, not only is it not unusual, it's not unprecedented. Other outside counsel agreements have the same provision in it, that the county attorney handles the, manages the work of outside counsel. It's just a way of using the expertise of the attorney, who is trained in the law just like the outside counsel is, to make sure that what the outside counsel is doing is in the interest of the county and it is properly circumscribed in terms of those services.
But while I still have the floor, if you don't mind, I do think that the second set of eyes are good, and the county administrator has the procurement ability to do certain things. You don't. You would have to go through that, and I think that would help you immensely. All I want to add is, with the approval of the county administrator, cleans it right up for me. And that's just my feel.
If you feel that that's necessary, I would say in consultation with the county administrator, okay? Because the legal determination of the nature of the services and the extent of those services is really a legal determination that needs to be made by the attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Commissioner Turner?
Lawyer Joe, would it be all right with you if we put in there with consultation and agreement by the county administrator? Would that offend you? Because I actually agree with Commissioner Harvey here. I think and I can't imagine a scenario that you couldn't contact him if it was an emergency or whatever and say, look, we need to do this or whatever. And then it's a consultation, and this isn't directed at you. You're the third county attorney I know of and around here in the last 5 years. You may be the best one in the world. I don't know what's coming ahead of us. So I would like for that person to have to consult with at least the county administrator.
I think the difficulty that I see with that, as a general proposition, I don't have any problem with that, because I do think that obviously the budgetary aspects of it are the concerns of the county administrator and the board. However, I do think that another aspect of this that needs mentioning is the rules of professional responsibility of the Florida Bar, and that is my ability to be able to use my independent legal judgment. That is an ethical obligation on my part, okay? And I can't have that constrained, by other considerations. I got to make a straight legal call based on my best judgment. So I do think that I think probably the consultation language is better, because when I'm consulting with them, I'm consulting with them on the budgetary aspects of it. But in terms of the legal determination of whether, in my judgment, representation is necessary and the extent of that representation, that is really not only, I guess, my authority, but also my responsibility as a member of the bar. I have to use my best legal judgment to zealously represent the interests of my client, and my client is the Putnam County Board of County Commissioners.
While I agree that the legal aspect of it needs to be your call, I don't know that I agree with your interpretation that someone else couldn't be in it on whether or not outside counsel needed to be hired for that particular instance. Not that it needed legal attention, that's what we have you here for, but if it's legal attention that would be better to hire outside legal services, I think that needs to be discussed. And I'll go along with the consultation part if that makes you feel better. I'll give you that, but it needs to be discussed with the county administrator. He can't be left out of these decisions when it's something that important. Commissioner Harvey, would that settle your heartburn?
Yes, sir.
And I think it'll settle mine. Could we add with consultation to the county, with consultation with the county administrator to that line?
I think that would be fine, Mr. Commissioner. Like I said, I work very closely with administration, and obviously the budgetary aspects of it, I always consult with them.
That being said, Mr. Chairman, I'm prepared to offer a motion that we approve item C along with the addition of with the consultation of the county administrator.
I second that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we got a proper motion on the floor by Commissioner Turner and a proper second by Commissioner Harvey. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, so it's Commissioner Rawls dissenting. Okay, item C passes.
No, that was not item C, was it? Was that for total item C?
Yes,
Okay,
that's
It was C.
all right,
That was C, yes.
Okay.
you're right.
All right, we'll move down to item D, and we'll start with Commissioner Rawls on the fee schedule.
Biggest question I had is, we were discussing not too long ago how underfunded the building department was, but we're not taking a look at increasing our fee schedule. And I just wanted to see if there was any opportunity for us to do that, because they were underfunded by about 40% from memory.
Okay, Commissioner Turner?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was actually, give me just a second here. I have a little different view of this. I don't think that the building department was ever intended to fully fund itself. The more we can get to it, the better. But I think that we're trying, or at least this commissioner has been trying very hard to bring fairness in government as much as I could back to the citizens. And under the scenario where somebody comes in and asks for a future land use map, small scale amendment, that's $1,200. If at the same time they need to rezone their property along with the land use amendment, that's another $750. So we're up hovering around $2,000. And if they need a special use permit at the same time for the same project, it's another $750. So you're up around $2,700 just to get a small scale land use change, get a variance if you need one, and rezone your property for a small project. I think that's ridiculous. Now, I know that some of this was put in back in 4 and 5, around in that area when the economy was screaming and we had people jumping out of airplanes to come in here and open new businesses and build new things, and growth was a concern. And over the years, I don't think that the pace in Putnam County is quite kept up like it was, and that's part of the reason that we just hired a consultant to redo our comprehensive plan, and we're going to in-house rewrite our land development code to try and fix some of this to make it a little more attractive for people to come in and do some development, or to just come in and build themselves a home without running them off right when they walk in the door and needing to spend possibly up to $3,000 just to get their land ready to do this. So my suggestion today is that we build it in this ordinance somewhere, in this fee schedule. We build it in here that if you come in and you need three of these for the same project, like, for instance, a future land use map amendment, and you need a zoning change, and you need a special use permit, that all those can be done under one permit instead of three, or under one application instead of three, or combine the applications. And what it would be whichever of the ones were the most money, there's one fee. One fee.
The highest fee.
Whichever, so if you need a small scale land use change, it'd be $1,200. And if you need the other two, instead of paying the other $1,500, that's included in the $1,200. I know it's a little more work, but by damn, it's fair. And I think fairness in government is something we need to be looking at again. And so, my suggestion would be they pay one fee to do all three things if it's on the same piece of property, the same project at the same time. They can't come in and do their land use, or ask for a future land use change today, and then see if it goes through, and then say, oh, by the way, I'm gonna need a zoning change also, and start another case. That would be a second case. But if they do them all at the same time, I think it's just fair that they ought to be able to do them under one fee. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Commissioner Goddard?
Commissioner, not that I don't agree with you, but I would like to have Mr. Siafi come up and throw his 2 cents in on this.
I think it's Mr. Brown.
Okay?
Mr. Southey's building.
Mr. Brown.
Wow, the whole department.
Why don't we just ask Mike Brown and John Ciaffi to
Yeah,
come forward?
Oh, yeah. We don't want anybody to feel left out here.
Maybe somebody else might want to come.
As Attorney Joe said, Mike's bringing the muscle.
Well, the reason you have both of us is planning versus building. From the planning perspective, as it relates to the example given with a land use change and a rezoning, yes, there are some efficiencies with an application that comes in, two applications that come at the same time for the same property. There's, it's not 100% efficient. There is some additional cost, but staff could work, staff would amenable to a single fee, whatever that fee may be. We'll work with it. Some of the other examples, though, when you talk about variances and special use permits, they are a separate process. They go to a separate board. They go to the Zoning Board of Adjustments. So there's a separate hearing, at a completely different day. They are different, separate advertisements. So those efficiencies aren't there in the same respect as you have when you have the same projects going to the Planning Commission and then to the Board of County Commissioners. So that would be the only issue or concern that I would have with the proposal from a staff standpoint, but whatever three members of the commission decides,
So
we'll work with.
what you're suggesting is, if I'm hearing you correctly, is as long as those applications go to the same board, you're okay with it? But if
Yeah,
it's
there
like-
are efficiencies at
Right,
that
and-
point that,
Okay, I can get there.
Yeah.
I could get there. I
so that's-
understand that comment.
yeah, that's from the planning standpoint.
Right.
I think the discussion of building permit fees is a little more than we can have this morning. Probably we need to workshop that if that's where you want to go. I don't think this is the right forum for that. I think we'll have to have a lot of discussion on where we're at with building fees, so that would be a better venue for that.
We weren't discussing building fees this morning.
No, it was
only-
included,
was.
it was
Yes,
included
sir.
in that.
Okay.
Yeah, they're in there.
And we're wrapping up our,
What, you got more muscle?
All right, Commissioner Harvey, you had a
Yeah, I do. Mike, let me ask you this, something. you know, upsell is important. You want fries with that shake, or do you want fries with that hamburger? What if we reach some kind of a compromise? And here's what I was thinking, because I really agree with Commissioner Turner on this. One-stop shop, one application, the highest fee. But if we can't get there, let's ask this question. Let's say that the scenario that Commissioner Turner expounded on happens. Or somebody comes in your office and you say, oh, by the way, if you apply right now, okay, instead of paying $700 for this rezoning, it's going to cost you $350. We're going to give you a break on it right now if you go ahead and do your applications in one bundle, okay? It's a 50% savings. It might not be huge, but it'll cover some of the administrative costs that you need to cover on that side of the fence. So, you know, kind of upsell as people come in, let's get it all done at one time, and maybe that we could start that process and then try to work our way down in the future as we go. But I agree with Commissioner Turner.
No, I think that there's some benefit to looking at it. I just don't know what that magic number is.
Right.
You know, I mean, Commissioner Turner came in and mentioned to me, gave me a heads up that he was going to pull this. And I suggested at that point that, well, without having any thought about it, is let's go with the higher, whatever that higher fee is, which is usually the land use change.
But you know, it might generate revenue. And my point is, maybe somebody goes, you know, in the future, I want to rezone, but right now they can go ahead and do it for half that permit fee if they bundle it together. Might generate revenue without a whole lot more staff time.
Right. No, I agree. I agree with that. It's just, I don't know what that number is because I haven't had a chance to think about what, because you know, there are some savings on the cost, but of the advertisement, but not 100% because the ad's going to be a little longer. The staff report, you know, the land description that we put in the staff report, that's the same. So that saves us some, but then you've got to do other things on the rezoning that you don't do with the land use change. So there's some additional costs, but there are some opportunities for some efficiencies and some less costs. I just don't know where that magic number is.
Thank you, Mr. Pell.
Chairman,
Mr. Turner?
I'm pretty sure that we have to pass this today as part of the budget procedures. It'll pass something to do with this today. And so
Stacy?
if we need to bring this back to a work, we can always change this throughout the year. So my suggestion, I guess, would be to go ahead and pass it as it is today, and then ask to put it on a workshop and where we can discuss this issue, because I am fairly passionate about any time we can save our citizens substantial money for basically the same service. I can understand when you split the boards, it's a whole different application, a whole different process. They're going to the same board and the same deal, and the cases are one right after the other. I just fail to see where it's that much difference in staff time to go to the same board with two cases to the same board at the same time. So that's a conversation that I'm good to have another day. If the other commissioner, do you want to say something, Stacy?
No, you said what I
Okay.
was going to say. Thank you.
Great minds think alike. Okay, so with that, if commissioners are done, I'm gonna move that we move this forward in its present state. Item D.
I second.
Okay, we've got a proper motion to, for item D to move forward by Commissioner Turner. Got a proper second by Commissioner Harvey. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Commissioner Turner?
Okay, yes, the only thing I would just make sure, Laura, could you put it on a workshop in the not-too-distant future, please? I would like to see this discussed. Yeah, I guess so.
This
If
is
we
not going
do-
to be a 30-minute discussion. It's going to
We
be
could
a
do the
long
same
time.
thing at a different workshop for building, because I think that's gonna be a longer conversation. I don't know that it can be done at the same time, but try to get that sooner than later.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, got a proper motion and a proper second. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, item D passes. Okay, we'll move down to item 7, resolution stating that Putnam County Fairgrounds promote agriculture education. Administrator Suggs? We just-
Yes, sir. Mr. Reynolds and I were working with the Fair Authority on a grant application for the fairgrounds. Resolution was required. Mr. Reynolds has drafted a resolution for your approval here this morning, so I'll turn it over to Mr. Reynolds.
This is in regards to, last year when we submitted the appropriation for, facility improvements at the fairgrounds. It did, make it into the budget, however, it was vetoed. Part of the reason why that happened is because, and we were not aware of it at the time, that there was a grant application, that is processed through, I believe it is the Department of Agriculture with the state. And one of the questions on that grant application, it's in page 90 of your packet. That question number 3, it asks if a formal resolution has been adopted that states that the proposed agriculture education and promotion facility serves a public purpose. So we have drafted a resolution to state that the fairgrounds, all of the facilities located at the fairgrounds do serve a public purpose, and that is to promote agricultural education. And so this would allow, this grant application is due October 1, so this would allow us to answer that question positively in that grant application.
Okay, do you need to open this up before we have a motion, with it being a public hearing?
Do we need to have public comment?
Yes, if anybody would like to comment on it.
Okay, I'll open up the public comment portion of this hearing. Any individuals wishing to speak for or against this resolution, please come forward. Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion. And what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move resolution number 2019 in support of the Putnam County Fairgrounds Promote Agricultural Education resolution be passed.
Second.
Okay, got a proper motion by Commissioner Harvey, proper second by Commissioner Rawls. Any further discussion?
I'd just like to state if I could. I think it's important, this is important, but also the fact that the public realize the potential that the fairgrounds represent to Putnam County as a whole, not just having an agriculture fair once a year, but when I spoke to Mr. Newbold a few weeks ago, he said that they've hosted 30 events there this year. So supporting this is hugely important. And also, I personally would like to see us include the fair in our strategic planning and going forward, having meaningful conversations about helping them get to where they would like to be, because I think that could be a good economic engine for us as far as inviting the public in and putting Putnam County a little more on the map.
Right, exactly. I agree 100%. The fair is definitely an asset to our county for, not just the once-a-year fair, but all the activities that can be hosted there. So, Commissioner Harvey?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Rawls, you're exactly right. I think, years ago, it was all about the fair, and that was one particular event. But now it has blossomed into a lot of things, and that's an economic driver for this county. And I think when we talk about the fair board, it's a lot more than the fair, even though they're in statute. So I'd like to see something in the future to encompass everything that they're trying to do to bring economic incentives to the county by their means of their events. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, so we got a proper motion on the floor and a proper second. Okay, Commissioner Turner, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one quick thing. I'd like in next year, we can't do it this year, we've just got too many things upside down, but in next year's budget cycle, I'd like to challenge ourselves to try and actually help the Fair Authority a little bit. They do it on their own. I know they raise their own money. They've got their building out there that they got on their own. They've got all that, but they're getting to the point to where they're, because of their upgrading their facilities as much as they have, they're stretching themselves a little thin. The building out there, I think it's the Rawlerson building, is that the one you built, Rawlerson building?
Judy Rawson, yeah.
Yeah, Rawson. I think that this county needs to see about putting more than a warming kitchen in that has a facility where you can actually go there and do a little bit of cooking. It would tremendously expand the amount of events that could be held in that building than from what it can be right now. So, you know, I know that the Fair Authority would like to do this. I'm pretty sure they would. Some of them mentioned it to me, but they're a little thin with just building their new building out there and doing some other things. And I just think it would be a tremendous, it's our stuff. I mean, they run it, but it's ours.
Right.
You know, so I don't see why maybe in next year's budget, we could perhaps make that one of the projects, depending on the cost, that we could maybe put a little better facility in there than what it has.
Thank you, Commissioner Turner. Commissioner Harvey?
Thank you, Commissioner Turner, for that. Also, one thing that's really bothered me ever since I've been here, I want to see that floor sealed. That floor that building's used a lot. It's a concrete, it needs to be, if it's going to be used, it could be used for weddings, it could be used for anything. And I agree with the commercial kitchen. If you saw on Facebook, my mother-in-law, we had a big animal party, birthday party for her, and we had a lot of fun. So we were thinking, what will we do next? Well, she watches Cupcake Wars all the time. So the conversation was, do you have a commercial kitchen in the county that could be used?
Right.
No, we don't. That right there could be used. We could take our family over, have Cupcake Wars inside that building, and create cupcakes, bake them right there, do the whole thing with a commercial kitchen. So I agree. I think if we invest a little bit of money, we're going to see a tremendous return on investment with those buildings in that area. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Rawls?
So to that point, you know, the Cheryl Lynch and David Dinkins from the Extension Office have been working on getting a innovation hub type kitchen, and it's really going nowhere right now, but this could be that kitchen. And in the discussions with JR, they're looking at putting in a hood system and fryers and stuff like that, but I think that could be something where you could have the difference between being a cottage industry, so you're allowed to do process so many chickens at your house versus being able to sell in the open market, is having access to a kitchen like that, where you might be able to have somebody from the USDA come in and grade your meat, or if you're making jams or jellies or whatever. So having access to that, it really could not only be an economic driver, it could help incubate small startup businesses, or somebody that might have a desire to bake cakes or whatever, but not have the commercial aspect that's required by law for them to be able to move forward. So I think it's all good.
Thank you, Commissioner Rawls. Commissioner Turner?
Mr. Chairman, I think this is all very good conversations to have, but, you know, y'all just scared the hell out of me. You know, I was wanting to put in like a hood and maybe a single fryer and whatever, and we went from that to a full-blown commercial kitchen to an opportunity hub, which is, they're trying to raise several million to do that right now.
Yeah. No, this is just.
Can we back up a step, please, and just say, okay, can we just put enough stuff in there where you can have an event?
Yeah. But no, seriously though, literally.
Well, I believe it. I'm with you. I am there, but this conversation did not go where I wanted it to go today. You know,
You can do a lot with a small commercial kitchen, literally, you can. If you were a caterer and you needed to cater a large event, but you needed access to that kitchen, you lease the kitchen for a day. How much do they get for that commercial kitchen at Ravine Gardens?
Oh, wow.
It's an obscene amount of money. It's like $250, $300 and just to lease the kitchen.
Well, that's certainly a conversation for another day
Good
if we
moneymaker.
could move forward, Mr. Chairman.
I stand in support.
Okay, all great ideas, no question. Okay, so we have a proper motion, proper second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, resolution passes. Okay, we'll move down to Clerk of Court. We have Mr. Kenny Downs sitting in for Tim Smith today. Mr. Downs?
Yes, sir. He's sorry he can't be here today, but on the conversation you were just talking about, I think there's some grants available to provide that entire thing. UDA, and they did a kitchen at the golf course. I think there's some opportunities to get some grant there. So anyway, just to throw that in.
Okay.
Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman, if I may,
Mr. Turner?
the one at the golf course, they did get money for it. I don't know if it was a grant or a loan, I'm not sure. We did the work. but it was contingent upon a restaurant moving in there that never moved in.
That's right.
So I'm not so sure that they didn't have to repay, or if they didn't repay, they got off the hook
That's right.
from USDA, so,
Maybe not now.
yeah, I don't know. I just don't know, but anyhow, there were some strings on
Yeah.
that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Downs. Okay, we'll move down to item 9, appointments. Commissioners, any appointments today? We'll start with Commissioner Goddard.
No, I have none.
Okay, Commissioner Rawls.
I have none.
Okay, Commissioner Turner.
None, sir.
Commissioner Harvey.
None, sir.
Okay, and I have none. Okay, we'll move down to, we'll go to 11 first. Mr. Joe DeNovo, attorney.
I have nothing further, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Okay, County Administrator, Mr. Terry
yes, sir.
Suggs.
Yes, sir, I'll go ahead and piggyback on that fairgrounds conversation if I can. And let's see if we can give Mr. Turner a few more gray hairs. But we have worked on appropriations for this year, and I'm glad to see Ms. Leota's in the room. That the grant application that Matt read the resolution for this morning was for the fairgrounds. So we'll be going back out seeking appropriations this year through the state. We've got our meeting here tomorrow, I believe it is at 2 o'clock for our legislative delegation days. And based on conversation a couple Tuesdays ago with the board, we went back out and drafted a total of 4 set appropriations this year. I'll give you those 4 at the 2 o'clock workshop with the language and all that we went out for. One of those was the fairgrounds. Of course, communication, public safety communications, drainage. We're looking at year 2 of a potential 3-year appropriation for East Putnam, and animal control went ahead and put that one together. So those 4 will be going out, and we'll have that discussion tomorrow at the delegation meeting. And as far as it keeps coming up, so strategic planning. We met yesterday, teleconference, with the folks from IOG UCF, University of Central Florida, to start working on our plan, our timelines. Looks like we're going to try to hold public workshops in November. There'll be a total of 3 of those public workshops. We will look at moving those around the community. I think that will give us the best opportunity to have folks from different regions represented. And then in December, we'll be coming to the Board of County Commissioners for you to clear your calendars for 2 consecutive days to hold the Board of County Commissioners portion of those workshops. So that will be in December. And then we'll get back together after the first of the year moving forward with the plan. So that's where we're at with strategic planning.
Okay, anything else?
I have a question regarding that.
Mr. Rawls?
So the 3 public workshops, how many hours are we doing, or are we scheduling for public workshops?
There will be, the calendar right now shows 2 in the evening from 6 to 9, and
Okay.
then one on Saturday from 9 to noon.
9 to noon, okay. And those they'll be facilitated, and the facilitator will come back to the BOCC at that point with those conversations, or how I know
Let
this
me,
can be done in a bunch of different ways, so how are they planning on doing it?
I'll elaborate just a little bit more. The BOCC are certainly invited to the public workshops. However, they're not wanted to be in participation. They want the public to have the conversation, not be driven by the public or by the comments of the Board of County Commissioners. So you're certainly invited and welcome to attend, walk the room, hear what's being said, so you can get a feel for the workshop itself, but let the workshop do the work.
Right.
And then after that, there'll be about a 2 to 3 week lag in between the last public workshop and the Board of County Commissioners workshop, so they can have time to go back and put all that information together in a format to bring to the Board of County Commissioners to facilitate your 2 workshops.
So that's one question. They will be facilitated. They will be gathering information, compiling it, and bringing it back to us.
We will also be doing a staff survey
Okay.
between now and then as well.
Yep.
And so I think it's a good system. I think the folks that do this have done this for a long time. They're very professional with how they want to lay it out, and the project or the results will show. And so that's our timeline as of right now. We'll do a employee survey, 3 public workshops, and then Board of County Commissioner workshops.
How will the public workshops be notified?
There's going to be an advertisement, there's going to be flyers sent out, we're going to advertise through civic groups, churches, and everywhere else.
Cool. And obviously, social media. Okay.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Commissioner Harvey?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Suggs. I appreciate that explanation. At first, I was kind of like, the commissioners aren't invited? But you know what? It might be better that the people can speak freely without us being there. And my question to you was, have they done this before? And undoubtedly, you said they did. So I kind of like that idea. You know, it's kind of better when maybe we're not in the room and they can say, hey, my commissioner doesn't do, maybe we don't know what we're not doing for what we, because sometimes we believe our own press releases. We believe that we're doing the best job we think we can, when in fact, we might not be serving the public as we could do better. And I'm just going to say that, including me. I mean, you know, we all think we're doing a good job, and I don't doubt we are, but, you know, what's the public think about us? What do they really need from us?
That's a good point.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Harvey. Okay, before we move down to commissioner comments, Ms. Leota Wilkinson, Representative Bobby Payne's executive assistant, is in the audience. Not to put you on the spot, did you want to say anything about the legislative delegation that will be held in this building, in this room tomorrow, I believe at 2 p.m., 2 to 4? Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners.
morning.
Leota Wilkinson with State Representative Bobby Payne's office. Yes, tomorrow at 2 o'clock, we will have a public meeting. The public is invited, and it's a delegation meeting. We'll have Senator Perry here along with Representative Payne to discuss the appropriations request for the county, along with city officials and other requests, such as, you know, the ARC or other affiliations. So just want to say welcome to the public. They're welcome to come, and there'll be a public comment section, and they'll be welcome to speak. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Leota. Okay, we'll move to commissioner comments. We'll start with Commissioner Goddard.
Yeah, okay. Now, I want to say, we had a meeting here, we didn't, but we had Clint Studer come in last week and have a meeting in here, and it was pretty full. There was a lot of good interaction back and forth. I see a lot of growth going in for Palatka. And along with that, we got new businesses opening up in Palatka, which is great news. But if anybody's been riding around in Palatka, of course, we call it the love bug season, and then throughout Florida, the tags changed to New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire. We have the same thing here in Palatka, and it's been neat. I've seen Montana tags, Utah tags, so we're getting a lot of visitors here to Palatka and to Putnam County. I guess the other thing is as we see the growth in Putnam, I mean, we're really seeing it, and I get excited about it because I'm on that part that's seeing this growth here. The fairgrounds, which is something I wanted to speak up, is not just the fair anymore. There's a lot of events, concerts and weddings and just so many things going on out there at the fair. We don't even know what's going on. Of course, I always say, if you know, take the time to drive around in Putnam County, the things that go on. Prime example, you just made me think of breakfast on the first Saturday of every month in Pomona is a handmade breakfast down there. I mean, this thing is great. And that's not the only one. There's events all over if you just go out and you look for them. Of course, now one thing that I'm going to have to cover that we're going to cover at Transportation, and I know it's a hot subject, is we have some problems with a couple bridges, and I want to clear up everything there that I can. We met with the Department of Transportation on the 12th out at 310 Bridge. At that time, they said there's some problems with that bridge, and they need to lower the rating on that bridge. And in 3 weeks, they are coming out to meet with us at the Barden Bridge, which anybody, I don't know if you're familiar with that, that's out over the Etnaya waterway. But anyway, at that time, there was no discussion of lowering the rate or any major problems. They were just going to meet with us And in my understanding, and I know the administrator was there, to my understanding, it was to get a baseline of what needed to be repaired so that if there was an event of a storm, that they could come back and say, okay, this was caused by the storm or this was not caused by the storm. So that way we would be eligible for FEMA reimbursement. But nonetheless, this did not happen. On Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, they came out with a report and said that they're lowering it down to 4 tons. And which meant all of a sudden we can't send school buses across there, and I cannot fault our school board one bit. If the Department of Transportation says that bridge won't hold it, you cannot send a school bus across there. So we had a hassle. This happened over the weekend. People had to transport their kids up to Bud's Grocery. I'm not faulting them, but I do believe they could have given the county a little bit of heads up that this might have been coming so that we could have done something, especially in that area that does not have too many ways in and out that are very good. I'll just throw that in there. Sun Garden Road is a bad road on a good day. But nonetheless, we are looking at this. We're going to have a 2 o'clock transportation meeting, and we will be addressing these things. And I do want my other commissioners, I've looked at a couple different funding things. They're going to be painful. They're not in District 1. But I need to get everybody on board to see what we can do to get these things taken care of. Anyway, again, enjoy Putnam County. We really are a great county. We have a few problems, but we are a great county. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goddard. And before I go to Commissioner Rawls, I want to ask Administrator Suggs. We all have received some emails on the concerns of the weight limits and the condition of the bridge. And as Commissioner Goddard said, we were made aware of that, after that town hall meeting. But Commissioner Suggs addressed those concerns with the email last night, and I just want you to have some comment on that, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. As you know, I responded to an email last night from one of the citizens of Barden, and I think he had some very legitimate concerns. And I copied you 5 officials on that email to try to shed a little bit more light on the situation for those that were affected. They're correct. We held a meeting in Barden on September 12th, and they were upset that we didn't discuss this at the September 12th meeting. But as I alluded to in the email, we didn't get the results back of the inspection until September 18th, and I think that's key for them to understand the timeline. The inspection was actually performed on February 21st, and the results weren't back for 7 months. And in the email we received, as far as the inspection report, it said it was a routine inspection. Well, during the routine inspection, they found some issues. I'm not an engineer, and I don't profess to be one, but I think that the amount of rain and water we've had flowing through that creek and under that bridge for the last several months to a year has caused some serious scouring there, and that was the main concern. The other issue was the fact that the buses were no longer allowed to traverse that bridge. So I reached out to Dr. Sorensen yesterday, and I said this also in an email, that we will work diligently with Dr. Sorensen and the school board to make sure that our student population is taken care of and done in a safe manner as well. The third issue that was raised was garbage. I've reached out to Waste Pro. I have yet to get a response back, but I know Daniel's been running around himself, the operations manager, and I'm confident Daniel and I will be able to work out a way to make sure people get their service taken care of in an efficient manner. And lastly, they had concerns about public safety. I think we looked at some of the information this morning. I believe the weight limit will allow for some of the public service vehicles still to traverse that area. But I'll work closely with the Sheriff's Office and Colonel Wells and our own Chief Quinn Romay and some others in the public safety arena to make sure that we have services to take care of those folks out there that are impacted by this unfortunate situation. Again, the bridge issues that we're dealing with is no fault of anyone sitting up here. These are constructed bridges that's been in place for several years, and now it's time to do some engineering and maintenance on these bridges, and we'll take care of what we need to as a county. So I did reach out to the citizen, just kind of wanted to share that information, that we're aware of it. But the main thing is I wanted them to understand that the reason it wasn't discussed at the September 12th meeting is because we weren't notified until September 18th.
Okay, thank you, Administrator Suggs. Okay, Commissioner Rawls?
So to add a little bit to the board and bridge situation, my first phone call, for my first time being aware of this, was a phone call from a constituent. And then, a couple of emails and a couple more phone calls. One of the questions raised was work that was done a couple of years ago by DOT or after flood damage from FEMA maybe. Was there work done?
It was done by us. We had to put flowable grout in both ends. It was, the road was, if I may, Mr. Chairman, the road was undermining on the end toward, I guess it would be to the south. That's north and south across the bridge, right? So it'd be on the south end. They had to pack that whole area full of flowable grout. It was undermining the road.
But nothing to do with the culvert itself? Okay. That was one of the questions, and I was thinking, what was going through my mind was, was it done properly? Was it inspected by DOT after the fact? And the other, in reading the email, when you said in the email that we were made aware on the 18th, but the report came out February 21st, that jumped off the page at me, that if there's a 7-month lag between when DOT looks at something and we're able to respond, obviously it puts us in a disadvantaged position, but there's got to be a way to expedite, especially, and Commissioner Goddard said 4 tons. If that's correct, and I don't know what the weight rating is right now, you couldn't take a 1-ton, the truck that I just sold with a diesel engine, it wouldn't be able to go across that thing as just a passenger vehicle without exceeding the weight limit, let alone our road grader or our garbage trucks, dump trucks, and we got issues with roads out there that people want to address. And so I think we're going to have a lot more conversation about this, obviously.
I think we're gonna have
And
this
then-
afternoon.
Yeah.
We're gonna have it.
And then the other thing I had on here was, I'd just like to see how this board feels about the introduction of a community calendar that we can put on our website. I don't know who it would be managed by, I haven't really given a lot of thought to it, but that would allow the community to be able to put on things like that function that we're invited to in Floor Home next month for the barbecue chicken judging. So the community can go on there and see what's coming up. And to Commissioner Goddard's point, somebody had a breakfast at Putnam Park. Our church has one of the first and third Saturday. I know the American Legion and Station 17 does their pancake breakfast. So something like that might be fun to have on there for community involvement and start trying to direct our citizens to that. So not only are they looking at fun things to do in Putnam County from within the county, but also people from outside that might take a look at it and want to participate. And then we could put in things like the strategic planning or other events that might be critical to getting information out to the public, like town hall meetings. So that's all I've got.
I know that, what was our receptionist before?
Yolanda
used to do that. Didn't she used to do a community calendar? Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know if it was public though, Mr. Chairman. I think it may have, may have done it for us. I don't know that it was a public.
That is correct.
published calendar.
But we can look at maybe implementing something. If it's a feasible opportunity for us to put a calendar together that we can monitor and update as we go along, we'll look at doing something like that.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Rawls. Commissioner Turner?
Mr. Chairman, I was gonna mention pretty much everything that's already been mentioned. And so I'm gonna close the day with my same spiel that I usually do. Oh, please call
Turn your
people
phone
back.
calls.
The department heads need to return their phone calls. If they don't have time to return their phone calls, then they need to assign somebody to return their phone calls. I don't know what to do. I've done everything but jump up and down and run up and down the counter like a stripper. I don't know what to do here. I don't know what to do here to get it to happen. So, I don't know if we need to try to build in some type of a fail-safe or what we got to do, but I've had enough. I mean, I've asked, I've begged, I've pleaded, I've been nice about it, I've been ugly about it. It doesn't seem to change. I think we're gonna have to build in some kind of a program that if somebody doesn't get their calls returned, then they can turn them in to somebody and somebody's held accountable instead of just blowing them off. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Administrator Suggs, you want to?
Well, I'm scared to follow that up, but I will. I'm glad to hear, that's exactly what needs to happen, Commissioner Turner. There needs to be a fail-safe system. So here's what I would recommend. If any 5 elected officials are getting phone calls or emails from any of your constituents that's claiming, stating, whatever way they want to pose it, that they're not getting a response back, please send it to me. That way I can monitor it as the county administrator. And I have found opportunities where I've reached out to folks and talked to folks, and they do appreciate that. There's no mistaking about that. But that way I can track the issues that we're having, see if it's isolated, see what the concern may be, and see if there's something we can put in place to address those concerns. So all I'm asking you to do is just, if you get those calls or emails, just call me at Chairman Pickens does that a lot. He'll call me and I'll reach out to folks, and I want to follow up and see what's going on. That way I know what department's not doing what.
Well, if I may, Mr. Chairman, I've kind of said this before, but a lot of times things that we take for granted because we know how it works and what goes on, and department heads know how it works and what goes on, we take it for granted. But a lot of times people call up and they're scared to death. They don't know what's going on. They think it's a lot more serious than it probably could be. They don't want to be in trouble. In a lot of instances, they want to do the right thing. Can't get hold of anybody to find out what the right thing is. So, you know, that's all I'm saying is when you're dealing with people's lives, we need to do the best we can to at least call them back and give them some information or do something.
Absolutely, 100% agree, because that's the service that we're in, customer service business. I just want to be able to be part of the solution. So if we get a chance to do that, I'll take that on.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Turner. Commissioner Harvey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can we add emails to that list too? It'd be appreciative if department heads returned email. And I'll just say it, leave that alone.
And if you would copy me on those emails, I'll make sure we get a follow-up.
I will. Do want to say, Mr. Nimitz, have you gotten me a price on what I asked you to get on the mowing and the grading per mile? We talked about that, and I told you I was going to ask you about that this morning in an email sent to you. Okay, we'll do it at 2 o'clock today, okay? But we did ask for that last week. I do want to say last Wednesday I was able to go to Tallahassee. For those of you who have never got up at 5 in the morning, drove to Tallahassee, ran from one side to the Senate, to the House, up the elevator, down the elevator, through the governor's press conference, all day long, walked out of there, had a meeting at FAC, our Florida Association of Counties, and then drove home. You've never experienced a really good day. You're wore out by the time. Leota's smiling. She understands the one day up and one day back. Small County Coalition last Wednesday, and the Florida Association of Counties Rural Caucus delivered some legislative appreciation awards, and I will say that our Representative Bobby Payne received one, and Senator Perry received one, and many others for just really representing rural North Florida or rural Florida in such a positive manner. And we would be amiss if we didn't represent, or at least acknowledge again, Representative Payne and the rural thing that he put together last year, which was still being talked about in the halls of the Capitol. And I was asked many times, are we cooking fish again? I'm telling you, they've never been treated like that. And to see 5 commissioners up there and their families supporting that, you knock the ball completely out of the park. You can't overcome what we did. I mean, no one can ever do that. So we kind of set the bar really high, but it was a good thing for for Representative Payne, but it was a good thing for this county to be put on the map. So, but you'll see there's a list in your Small County Coalition of everybody who received the awards, and they were very appreciative. Matter of fact, Senator Mumford sent me a handwritten card today thanking us here in Putnam County for highlighting him in that award. So, Mr. Chairman, that's the end of my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Harvey.
Chairman,
Commissioner Turner?
are we cooking fish or is it gonna be something else? I don't know. Oh, I didn't know.
charge of
We'll figure out the day before.
Yeah, show up with your apron.
Yep.
It will be good.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Harvey. I would like to recognize Ms. Shirley and Jim Griffin in the audience. Mr. Jim is on the town council in Pomona Park, and they're both involved in the Pomona Park Neighborhood Watch. And along with the town council, they do the first Saturday and breakfast, and it is fantastic. And Ms. Shirley Griffin is also the chairperson of the Better Place Oversight Committee, so I appreciate y'all being here today. The Rotary Club has its annual Swine and Wine event October 5th, Saturday, at Clifton Road at Crescent Lake Farms, owned by William Revels. And you can see me for tickets. It's a fundraiser for education and youth sports. Let's see, we have a 2 p.m. transportation meeting, and we have a 5:05 budget hearing. So if there's no further business, I will recess until 5:05. The public hearing, the 5:05 public hearing for finalizing the budget. And just like to start with asking Stacy Papel if she would like to make any comments before we move forward.
Good evening. Nothing has changed in the millage rates from our presentation 2 weeks ago. In the budget, the total budget amount has not changed, but finance closed the 603 fund. That is a Paradise Point and the 2 package wastewater plants. And she's moved all of the funding, or will by the end of the year, into the utility fund, so the budget mirrored that. I just lifted the budget that was in the 603 fund, added it to the 405 utility fund. It's just housekeeping.
Okay. All right, Mr. Reynolds, you want to you have any comments at all?
No, sir. There's been no other changes other than what
Changes?
Stacy just mentioned from the first reading.
Okay. Administrator Suggs?
No, sir. We brought back the documents. I think that represents what we had 2 weeks ago, so we're ready to go.
All right, Commissioners, we have 3 actual different motions that need to be made. Passing the millage rate, the resolution adopting the final budget, and approval of the CIP, the capital improvement. So before we move to that, Commissioners, are any comments or questions?
Gentlemen, before you make your motions and vote, if anybody in the public wants to speak.
I will before we make the motion. So, but okay. Well, I'll go ahead and open it up for public comment. Any individuals wishing to come forward to make public comment on our budget, please come forward. Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion. Okay, Commissioners, what's the?
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
I'd like to pass the resolution adopting the millage rate for FY 2019 to 2020, the fiscal year 2019-20 Putnam County-wide operating millage rate of 9.5946 mils, which is the same as last year's millage rate, but 3.74% higher than the rollback rate of 9.2489 mils. The fiscal year 2019-20 Putnam County non-county-wide operating millage rate for the fire tax unit, municipal services taxing unit of 1.1 mils, which is the same as last year's millage rate. This rate is 3.85% higher than the rollback rate of 1.0592 mils. Together with an aggregate millage is 10.5636 mils, which is 3.74% higher than the aggregate rollback rate of 10.1823 mils.
Okay, got a proper motion on the floor by Commissioner Harvey and a proper second by Commissioner Goddard. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt the fiscal year 2019-20 total budget, all funds, $134,645,184.
Okay, got a proper motion by Commissioner or Mr. Harvey, proper second by Commissioner Turner. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Mr. Chairman, go ahead, Mr. Turner.
I move to pass the capital improvement plan.
I second it.
Okay, got a proper motion by Commissioner Turner and a proper second by Commissioner Harvey. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Okay, Commissioner Rawls?
On the CIP, there's no mention under vehicle replacement, anything about the fire trucks that we've discussed, but I was told that it was in the budget. Can you tell me where they are?
Fire truck replacement? In the fire tax fund, I don't believe there's any capital. I believe everything's in reserves, and you guys are going to make that decision
As we go.
in the upcoming months.
Well, there was nothing in the mission critical requesting in fire trucks, but there was discussion during the budget process, and at one point I was told that because there was, I guess there's insurance money involving one of the fire trucks, there was 2 trucks that were totaled, but that the fire trucks were in the budget, but then when I look at the CIP, they're not here. So that's an additional $600,000 in encumbrance that they're gonna have to come from somewhere, and I'm not aware that we had discussed funding that out of reserves.
It'll be, if it's in regards to the 2 trucks that we're going to get insurance reimbursement on, it'll be dependent on whenever we receive those funds, then we will amend the budget to add that money back into the budget. But we're unsure at this point what we're gonna get back on insurance funding for those.
So any loss beyond that, we have to incur out of,
Correct, yes. And that will come, one by one, based upon prior discussions with the board.
so the last time we met, we were at about 4.1 million in unencumbered reserves. We had the $800,000 of the needs that were requested, and then this could be, who knows what on top of that, I guess is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, there's definitely more capital needs than what we have available in reserves, but again, we'll be bringing those to the commission one by one as they become absolutely critical or things fail.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, got a proper motion, a proper second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, it passes. Okay.
I have nothing else for you.
I have that it's 68.1 degrees in here.
Any commissioner comments at all?
68, that hot.
That's hot, isn't it? Any other comments? Okay, I'd just like to say, staff, Stacy, Matt, Administrator Suggs, all the department heads, constitutional officers, everybody involved with this budget, thank you again. Another tough budget.
Very.
Better than the first one I was involved in. Different than last year, and I'm sure next year will bring its own challenges. So, but I just want to thank everybody and thank you all the commissioners for all your efforts. Any further business come before this board? We stand adjourned.
15.